quiet seaside town, an evil laid to rest centuries ago, has risen. An abandoned fortress deep in the swamp holds a secret that could save the village or destroy it. Now, a band of adventurers sets out to dig up the wounds of the past and bring the light of day to the roots of ruin. This is Tabletop Gold.
Hello, friends, and welcome to Tabletop Gold, episode 93. My name is Lars Casteen. I'm the Golden Tyrant, and I'm happy to welcome you today for another exciting episode of our ongoing Pathfinder 2nd Edition campaign, The Roots of Ruin. I'm joined today by 4 other tyrants. Let's meet them now. Robin Lange is here.
I prefer the term one-axe. Thank you very much.
What is that? I don't know that term.
This is the geekiest thing I've ever said in the show.
Yeah, bring it on. Let's do it.
It's the ancient Greek term that predates tyrant or tyrannos.
What is it?
One-axe.
One-ox? Can you spell
One-axe? Like
one-ox
basically you'd
for
spell
me?
it W-A-N-A-X.
One-ox?
On very, very old carvings, you see one-axe referring to the ruler before they use the word tyrannos.
If that was instead a Star Wars character, what would it look like? Because it feels like a Star Wars character to me.
I picture one-axe with being from the same place where I don't know. Yeah, I don't know Star Wars races well enough.
Okay.
But the ones that have essentially look like their hair is their skin.
A Twi'lek. Yeah. You're talking about a Twi'lek is what you're talking about.
Yeah. Yeah.
A one-axe.
And that's what the character named one-axe would be from there. Absolutely.
One-ox, the Twi'lek. Yes, let's do it. I'm into it. You know what else I'm into is Armat Humphreys.
Hello. For some reason, whenever I hear the phrase one axe, I just think of that Nas song, One Mic. I only need one axe. Like,
Really?
this is the worst. I'm so sorry, everybody. I'll just see myself out.
Wait, is
was
that
worse.
true? Is that true though?
That's what in my mind.
In your
yes,
mind, that's
it's
where you go?
true. Yeah.
I like that he says every time he hears the term one-axe, as though you've also heard one-axe more often than just tonight.
This is the first time I've heard it, but that's immediately where my mind went.
It evoked
so,
it. Well, that's good.
thanks
We're
for
making
going with
connections.
me on this journey.
I
y'all.
love it. I love it. Zoe Chernicoff is also here. Hi, Zoe.
Hello, it's me with the rambling questions that divert us. It's just to build up suspense about the hog bracket.
I know. Everyone's gone hog crazy
People
this
tuned in
month.
wanting to get this settled, but instead they got to deal with Star Wars.
That's right.
Sorry,
Sorry.
everyone.
And David Chernicoff, the Tin Man, is here as well.
Did somebody say hog bracket? Oh, because I am ready to roll. I'm glad we didn't go straight here because, it's nice to start by tackling the question, can you go off the rails if you never had any rails in the first place? If you didn't take the time to lay any track.
As it turns out.
Well, folks, we've come to the end of March, and that means we are coming to the end of Hog Madness, our March-long march to crown a champion from among all hogs and award the crown of superior hog. Now, we have one last matchup, the final matchup in our hog bracket tonight. The 2 finalists are
This is big.
the number 1 overall seeded Warthog, which has only barely moved past each of its matchups, but it has survived tough challenges in the previous 3 rounds to make it all the way to the finals and face off against the winner of the idioms bracket, which, in a huge upset last week, unseated the hog-nosed bat, a seeming inevitability for this final.
Messed up.
The phrase hogwash has made it all the way to the final to face off against the warthog. And so it all comes down to this. What is the superior hog, folks? The warthog or hogwash? And just like we did last week, I think we should start with someone who has a strong feeling, a passionate inclination to give voice to who the winner should be. And I have to tell you, listener, I have never seen 4 such befuddled faces.
I'm willing to step forward and make an argument on behalf of my much beloved phrase hogwash.
Yeah.
Here is why I would argue it is the superior hog. Although the warthog may in many ways be an iconic hog, the phrase hogwash appeals to the ideal hog. It is abstract. Thus, it can apply to any hog and all hogs, thereby making it the hoggiest of all options. By its very abstraction, it is the superior hog. Also, my grandfather said it and it was adorable.
Beautifully said.
Okay. You got a family memory there.
So that gives us a lot to think about. Hogwash, a kind of blanket phrase that could be applied to any and all hogs, and therefore, according to this argument, sort of spans and embodies all. All right, so anybody so moved to argue on behalf of the warthog?
Sure, I'll go. It's like a big hog, right?
Yeah, that's
sick.
strong.
Let's do it. Let's vote, guys.
Pithy,
Well said, Lars.
Nailed
and passionate, and not at all dismissive from Lars.
It's a
Arguing
big
on
hog. What the fuck do you want? It's like one of these things is a phrase, the other one is a hog. Like this is an easy choice.
This is
That's
an
not
extremely.
dismissive. I'm protecting the sanctity of this competition from nonsense. Do you know what the word hogwash means? It means nonsense. That's what this is. One of these things is a hog. One of them is not. This is an open and shut case. I'm not being dismissive. I'm just being real.
Truth to
Thank
power.
you.
He's just speaking truth to power.
You weren't actually being that dismissive to begin with. I agree with you, but boy, did I want to hear some more of that passion that we just heard there.
Let's vote.
Let's vote. So we have one entrant each for warthog and hogwash, according to those opening arguments. And so we move now to the rest of the panel. Robin Lange, what is your choice? What is the superior hog? Is it the warthog or hogwash?
Well, here's the thing. When I think of a warthog and I picture it, I picture a boar with tusks. So if I'm thinking of what a hog is, though, that's not a boar. Ain't a hog. A boar is like something between a vicious dog and a pig.
Right.
And
Isn't
it's
a hog
hogwash.
maybe also between those things?
No, because a hog is also a pig. Hog's just another word for pig.
Having read a lot of internet web pages about whether or not pigs are hogs or boars are swine, I'm with you. There's a lot going on here, definitely. Well, that sounds to me, Robin,
So,
like you are leaning.
It's all hogwash.
She's
It's
leaning
all hogwash.
hogwash.
Yeah. Yeah.
She's leaning hogwash, folks. Well,
Not even leaning hogwash. I'm full in with hogwash, baby.
This is insane.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What's happening right now is crazy.
well, Zoe says she's with Lars.
Look, this
so
is
Zoe, are
March
you with
Hog Madness?
That's true.
So Zoe, are you with Lars?
I am, and I just want to put in one more word here because I feel like we all deserve a brief moment to reflect. In my mind, not only is hogwash not a hog, but in fact it is like the exact opposite. It is the detritus that comes off of a hog, leaving behind the actual hog. It is the actual inverse of a hog. Not only in meaning, but physically the hogwash is like it is everything but the hog.
Wow.
And so for that, I give it to warthog.
And so it all comes down to this, dear listener.
You have so
2
much
votes to
power
2.
in this moment, David. This
True.
is
Yeah.
it's
Too much
so
power.
This is
It's all David's.
I should have known it would come down to this.
2 votes in for Warthog, 2 votes in for Hogwash. Compelling arguments on both sides. A month's worth of research and obsession on my part.
Do the right thing, David.
And we'll pick it up from there. No, my tie-breaking and deciding vote, I cast in favor of the Warthog, which is actually a hog.
No.
Point.
Nothing but disappointment for me. This entire bracket.
And so Warthog takes the tournament with its 4th consecutive 3-2 victory. A divided result each time, but the Warthog, in the end, stands atop the slop.
They're going to be rioting in Philadelphia tonight. I'll tell you that much. Not because there was anything necessarily related to the Warthog
'cause it's
in this
Philadelphia.
competition, but because they were gonna do it.
Yeah,
anyway.
they just had it scheduled.
Yeah, it was on the calendar.
And so that is Hog Madness 2023. Thank you all so much.
Wow, great work, David. Fantastic.
Warthog, just please stick around after the show for your prize.
Yeah, good luck with that. They're fishing.
There it is, the superior hog.
Yeah, can we get that
Watch
superior
him
hog drop?
now. Okay. We did it. Hey, guys, you know what else we're going to do is we're going to talk about, thank you, David. We're going to talk about reviews. We got some good reviews coming in. Thank you so much for everybody who leaving reviews on your podcast app of choice. We got this review from our good friend 22+. They said, "This is my favorite Pathfinder 2e podcast. The cast is lovely, both to listen to and to interact with, although the host does not understand dew point." And that's true. All of those. It seems correct. I sure don't. Thank you so much, 22+. Again, deeply appreciate it. And let's get into it.
22.
We appreciate you.
Let's play our game. As you've explored the 5th level of the Dungeons Below Gauntlet, you've learned more about Belcora Haravex's arena and the strange flesh-warping experimentation done here since Belcora's fall. You're currently recovering in a room outfitted with 3 surgical tables, tending to your wounds after a malicious spirit literally turned you against each other. Mag and Vadim have one thing in common right now, that is that they are both stupefied. But Vadim is also very near death, is wounded, is sick. And Trill also needs healing. I don't know if you guys want to deal with the healing right off the bat, but you're in this room, 3 spotlights, 3 surgical tables. All of you are sort of dealing with the immediate aftermath of this combat with a vengeful spirit. So what do you think happens next?
I think for Vadim, at least, the first thing that happens is as soon as he sees that spirit discorporate, he immediately starts retching. Oh, God.
And since we're out of combat, I'm not going to ask you to roll dice for that. But Vadim falls over and starts retching, trying to get the sickness out of him.
How vile.
Trill's just lying on the floor, kind of panting heavily at this point after everything. After she saw it disappear, she kind of went down to her knees to try and catch her breath.
If I may, Trill played that risky during that combat. Trill was right up in that thing's face. So I don't know if that makes Trill extra afraid or if the rest of you notice how close that came to going really badly.
Yeah, Trill got stuck in a bad place because Trill was right next to Mag. And then Mag's mind got taken over. And Mag has bloody AOO.
Yeah,
Right?
she sure
Oh, yeah.
does.
Abbreviation?
Yeah.
Yeah.
AOO gets me every time. I think I'm being referred to, but then we add one more.
Heyo.
Yeah, right.
And Trill got literally stuck there essentially for a while, felt like. And then as soon as Mag was done, the ghost came right next to Trill.
Yeah.
It wasn't a great situation.
I think Mag is really wrung out and strung out. Mag has been, has been in the thrall of this thing, has seen her body unbidden hurt her friends. She's still stupefied, and frankly, it was pretty preoccupied before all of this started, with the revelation that Vadim is considering abandoning this mission. And so I think that kind of just the collected, she's a jumble. She's a mess. Mag is a mess. And Mag staggers over to the nearest of these three tables, and she drops the head of her maul to the floor and leans on it heavily with one arm, and with the other arm leans against the table and starts whispering, I'm sorry. I couldn't. I didn't have enough.
And I think as Vadim finishes retching and starts to hear that, he slumps against another one of the surgical tables and starts laughing.
Oh, freaky.
And he goes, well, that one wasn't my fault. Oh, God, that actually hurts to laugh. Oh, shit, that maul.
Mag just reflexively just throws the handle of the maul. She drops it the way you would a hot object or, something that unexpectedly moves in your hand. Just reflexively casts it away from herself. And the heavy, hardened wooden handle clatters against the floor. And Mag then sinks to one knee.
Seeing that, Vadim's expression will change to concerned, and he'll sort of stumble over to Mag and drop down near her and put his arm or hand on her shoulder and say, look, it's not your fault. Don't beat yourself up about this. You've already done enough of beating us up anyway.
Mag looks up at Vadim with red glowing tears running down her face. Enough! There's no amusement in this. This is what happens when you don't have control. This is what happens when something overtakes you. This is what happens when you end up alone. So is that it? All this is funny to you? So you're just ready to leave? And leave us? And it's clear that Mag means as much herself as the group. Alone?
When I went down there, do you know what I was thinking about? I wasn't mad at you. What you're going through, multiply it by 100, by 1,000. Everyone in the Gravelands has been where you are now. I don't say that to diminish what you're feeling right now. Just to say, I understand. What I was thinking about was my brother. He's my family. Well, I thought he was the only one I had left. I think maybe that's not as true anymore. He's out there in the Gravelands, and he doesn't have you to watch his back. I'm sure he has comrades, but I want to be there for him. I want to have the assurance that I feel when I go into a fight with you at my back. I want to know he feels that. We don't have a lot of things in this world we can control. And in the end, what matters is the people who are there with us. I want, with what little control I have, to try and give to my brother what you all have given to me. I want him to know he's not alone. And just because I might not be here doesn't mean I don't wish for a part of me to remain here with you. In your heart, in your memory. I'm talking too much. Sorry.
There's a sniffle from the ground in the center of their room.
Let's just go back to town. I can't do this anymore today.
Perhaps we could all use a drink, maybe.
Yeah. I guess we could have a drink. Ale looks sort of shaken, but is, for once, not contributing a lot.
Vadim, I think, will smile at AO at that moment and say, "Hey, look at you. Not a scratch on you. You were terrific."
Oh, yeah, I mean, that's how most of these go. I think you guys are just usually beat up so badly that you don't notice. I'm not like, well, I'm like a little proud of it, but anyways, yeah, is there anything I can do to help? Here, can I, you could use some gauze, she says, kind of trying to like change the subject.
Oh, God, don't make me laugh so much. It hurts.
All right, what'd you roll in your treat wounds?
26.
All right.
Told you she's a good doctor.
So 26, that's a critical success. How much healing did you roll?
19 healing. All right.
Okay, so Ao is able to repair Vadim's wounds, and the four of you are still pretty. At least two of you are pretty beat up. But you, if you want to head home, and lay on hands on the way home, I think that's something that you could do.
The group can get drunk and then lay on hands to get past the hangover one last time.
That's right.
That was a good one.
So the four of you head back up out of the dungeon. Up through the stairs leading up to the fourth floor, past the library, past the servants' quarters, up and out into the swamp, and you start the walk back home to the town of Otari.
During the walk, Trills has set herself apart. She's not playing her lute as they go. She's not taking part in conversation. She's just looking off into the swamp as they walk.
And in the distance, as Trill looks into the swamp, it's the kind of thing where she looks out into the distance and she feels like she can see a formless sort of ball of light bouncing around in the distance. And then she blinks and that thing is gone. But it feels as though the swamp is mocking you almost with its wisps floating off in the distance.
making me see things.
During the walk, Mag, who for once is not carrying a body of any kind.
Oh, yeah.
Her bedroll remains unsullied at last.
I think there was some bedroll play.
No,
Yeah,
we did.
yeah.
Well, I don't think we've replaced the bedroll since we were trying to mop up the mummy mange.
Oh.
Yeah.
Yeah. Maybe time for a new
Mag
bedroll.
will, in traditional fashion, grab another bedroll while she's in town. But yeah, I guess the body she's dragging back this time is her own. She lapses into an even more vituperative silence than usual. And eventually she moves back next to Vadim. The sun is high in the sky and casting very little shadow in the woods.
And it's hot today. This is the first hot day of the season. It's getting up around 84, 85 degrees at this point.
So Mag, maybe she unstraps some of her heavier armor to try to let a little air in. And so she is rattling, her armor is rattling loose on her body as she shuffles forward. And she joins Vadim at his side as they walk. Vadim,
Yeah, Meg.
you say that this sadness, this strange loss that I feel is only a small portion of what you and your countrymen have had to shoulder. And I wonder, how do you do it? How does it come to you to let go of everyone you love?
Well, because I didn't have a choice. For a long time, it was anger that kept my feet moving. Hate. The undead. Myself, because I couldn't stop it. This world for allowing such a thing to happen. And then that changed here. I met you. I met Trill. I met Ao. And even with these nightmares, even with everything eating at me, it got easier. All I know is that I am grateful to have gotten to be part of that path.
And as Vadim says that, you step out of the woods and the hillside rolling down towards the town of Otari and the inner sea reveals itself in front of you. You can see down in the town on this hot day, children running in the street playing tag with each other, farmers taking the day off, sunning themselves, drinking a glass of lemonade on a wooden bench on the immediate outskirts of town to the north. And despite the troubles that you're facing right now, the town of Otari seems either unaware of the dangers presented to it or willing to set fear aside. This is a nice day, and the people in town are enjoying it.
I mean, look at all this. This is because of us.
Especially how clean their teeth are, Norman says, coming up from behind. I mean, you should have seen the cavities in this town.
And Mag startles Mag so much that a small throwing hammer falls off of her belt and clatters to the ground.
And Vidian starts like crying with laughter. I think the other question is, what am I going to do without you?
Trill hears that sentence, glares, and stomps ahead.
So what are you guys doing? It's around 1 o'clock in the afternoon.
I think Crow's Cask, right? We didn't come here to stay sober.
Works for me.
Robin, is Trill going to Crow's Casks if Ao and others are breaking off in that direction?
Or is she brooding solo?
Well, I think actually what happened was Trill stomped off ahead, knowing that the group was going towards Crow's Cast.
Right.
And Trill has gone off on her own for a little bit to brood. Yeah.
Okay, should we pick up with Trill or should
Everywhere
we
she goes in town, there's Trill cakes haunting her.
No, go to Crow's Cast. Go to Crow's Cast.
there's the cakes haunting her?
Just like she turns around and someone's eating another Trill cake, like she just can't.
Everyone's walking around just devouring images of her face.
I was just remembering my 13th birthday, I think. My best friend at her birthday had her parents got one of those cakes where you got an image printed on it, and we were big old anime nerds, and so her parents printed on our favorite anime character at the time, and I was like, oh, I want that. So my birthday rolls around. She's moved away, unfortunately. So I'm just having a lonely birthday at home with my parents. And I tell them about this cake and how I want it, and they totally misinterpret it. They're like, oh, a picture. Oh, okay. So they get my school photo and print it on the cake, but the eyes show up really weird.
Of course.
The eyes did not come out correctly.
They didn't nail it? They didn't
and so,
completely...
Well, no, because it's not like they handed it. It's just they printed the picture on there. Or whatever that
No, I get you.
Yeah. But my eyes had this weird glow, evil glow to them. And my parents opened up the cake happy birthday. I was like, I don't want to eat my own evil face. What is this? This was absolutely not what I wanted.
That's amazing.
So that just reminded me of that.
Yeah.
So Trill's going through something like that, except it's...
This isn't what I wanted.
No.
Right. A kobold sort of innocently trots up to her and is like,
Hey, look!
and Trill just screams at him, this isn't what I wanted. Storms off down the street.
No, it's not about the cake!
So the rest of the party enters Crow's Casks, the sort of almost theme restaurant owned by Magaloy, the local Tengu barkeep and alchemist. You walk in and she sees the three of you and says, sort of an early day to see you, isn't it?
Sometimes even short days feel long. Get us, what's the daily special?
Well, the daily special is a drink that I like to call the Busted Voice. It's a drink that hits your vocal cords such that you can't do the voices that you typically want to do.
No, it's still Norman's. No, Magaloy, it's beautiful. I mean, get you up at a mic, have you doing some jazz with Trill. All the customers would love it. Anyways, is that special half off for happy hour?
Sure. I mean, I've got a bunch of them sitting around, and they're quite unstable. They do disintegrate and become quite poisonous after 2 hours at room temperature, so it is probably best to sell them I don't think these have been out for that long, though. How long? She looks around, and she looks out the window and looks up at the sun, and she's like, you should still be fine. Half off. Yeah, sure.
Bottoms up, everyone. Norman grabs him from behind the bar and begins handing him out.
Make a fortitude save. Just kidding. So you settle in, and there are some customers around. But how much drinking are you guys doing?
Some. probably some, we think it's just going to be one or two, but it's a slippery slope.
Yeah, and I think Vadim is also buying, like, plenty of rounds. Like, he knows nothing says a celebration like libations. Is Trill in Crow's casks? Can he see her? No. Okay. Then he'll just kind of keep his eye out, watching every time the door opens, seeing if it's Trill or not.
Well, it's after about 3 hours hanging out, talking, you probably drinking relatively slowly, that you see a gentleman walk into the bar wearing a black and white pinstripe suit with a pencil-thin mustache.
Huh.
He walks up to you. You recognize it, of course, as Wolfgun Messy.
Oh, Mr.
Message Board!
You'll love to see him.
He walks up to you and he has a quick chat with Magaloy, grabs a drink, sees you, raises his eyebrows, and then walks up and he says, "Do you mind if I take a seat with you for a second?"
No, here, these, they're half off, and I think we're still close to 2-3 hours. This should be fine, Norman says and pushes one of the busted voices over to him.
Guess there's a first time for everything. I'm happy to give this one a try. Let me tend to this flagon first, though. Listen, I have something I want to talk to you about. I heard one of you got pretty sick today, huh?
I think you're going to have to be a little more specific.
Somebody came in here with some kind of a mummy disease or something.
Well, yeah, we, one of us kind of, yeah, it was a little thing. It was, we shook it off. No big deal. Why?
Well, my understanding is that somebody had a mummy disease, went down to the Dawnflower Library and had it cured with the remove disease spell.
Yeah, maybe. What's it to you?
Well, I don't know. I've been keeping my ear to the street, and if what you had was mummy rot, there's no way that disease could have been removed with a simple casting of the remove disease spell, because that's a curse. And in order for the disease to be treated, you'd have to remove the curse first. So somebody really screwed that one up, huh?
Norman, as this speech has been going on, has slowly slunk his hands beneath his butt. Now he's sitting on him sort of uncomfortably, like trying to see if he can feel, like maybe he just hasn't noticed that he's still disintegrating slowly.
Oh, no, his hand.
I mean, it doesn't like come back, right? Like sometimes, you like get a rash or your tooth is sore and you like kind of talk yourself out of it. I mean, like if it got better, like probably whoever in the party had it or whatever, like it wouldn't just like suddenly come back, right? Like you wouldn't just suddenly find your hands falling apart or like your feet in those terrible shoes that people wear, like just suddenly like a toes. Do you see what I'm saying?
I do see what you're saying.
Come on, man. What's the answer?
The answer is no. Listen, if
This is basically Zoe's inner monologue when she's WebMDing stuff at like 1:30 in the morning.
Oh, it's cancer. All right.
It's always cancer.
I think if you're feeling okay now, you're probably feeling fine. The interesting point about mummy rot is that there were a number of mummies that entered this world in the past, and then later discoveries and publications of new tomes describing new monsters in this world, of course, revised the mummy rot to clarify that there's no way to remove the disease until the curse is removed. So, if you feel fine now, chances are it wasn't really a real mummy rot. It was, it was probably just a big mistake.
Yeah.
But watch out.
Yeah.
Maybe you'll get it again. And he winks at you.
And if we did, we'd have to remember it was a curse, or someone would show up us and remind us.
Somebody would have to remember it, for sure. Probably the person reading all the information about the monsters should probably pay attention to, Yeah, anyway, I've said too much.
Always a delight.
I imagine what happens when he's done with one of these things is that like you have that sensation of you kind of turn your head, there's a noise, you turn your head briefly and then you turn back and he's just completely vanished.
He's just like that.
Poof.
He's gone. And he's left a tip at the table. He's a very conscientious kind of guy. Classy.
Detail oriented and classy.
That's right.
As Mr. Message Board, Mr. Messy, vanishes, the door to Crow's Cask opens.
And Vadim will look up as always.
And Trill, with a very dark look on her face, walks only halfway in, looks Vadim in the eye, and then shifts her head backwards to indicate that she wants to talk to him outside. And she heads back out and walks to the other side of the building where it runs along the river.
And Vadim will look at the others and smile and just say, give me a minute, yeah? And he'll go out and follow Trill.
And as the two of you step outside, the sun is just starting to set behind Gauntlet. You look up towards the hill, towards the northwest. You see the forest, and you see Gauntlet peeking up from behind the forest, and the sun is starting to come down just behind that.
Trill's sitting at the water's edge, looking at the reflection of all of this in the water, in this river, as Vadim comes up.
And he'll sit down near her and just kind of as a casual starter, he'll say, like, it's funny, when you see it in this light, it's almost kind of pretty, isn't it?
So, you're leaving us.
Trill's no patience for small talk right now.
Yes. When I was lying there, right after Meg had really got me with that, cross swing. Erasmus bones that hurt. I realized I can't die without seeing my brother first.
I know I didn't do a great job of it today. But when we're together, when we're in there, I'm always trying to protect you. Every single one of you. I've had terrible visions of terrible things happening to each of you, and I've tried every time I better myself to do it, to think about how to achieve our goal in there, she says as she looks back up at the gauntlet. And the thing is, Vadim, I can't protect you when you leave here. I can't save you. You're not just leaving us, you're dooming yourself going back there. I know I can't make you change your mind, and maybe I can't make you understand why I've just been so mad, but I know that you know that you're sealing your fate. I need you to know that I'm always here, at least, trying to do what I can for you. And that even when you're gone, I'm going to be mad, but I'm mad not for why you think, maybe. I'm mad because I just know I'm never going to see you again. And Trill goes silent again, and the sun starts really falling down below the horizon. And she looks down at the water and just starts crying a bit.
Hey, Hey, it's all right. I'm glad you're mad at me. You only get mad, that mad, at someone if they're family. And he puts his arm around her.
Trill buries her face in his chest and, gets him absolutely soaked.
Also, though, just so she knows, he probably does not smell good after this adventuring day.
None of us do.
All right. His last action was retching.
Yeah.
Right, we're crusted in blood and sweat.
You're drinking a borderline poison.
If I may, you know what he could probably use? A little hogwash. Am I right?
No,
Am
boo,
I right? Boo.
Warthogs.
Oh. Will you buy a girl one last drink before you go?
I insist.
Trill stands up and takes Vadim's hand and leads him back into Crow's Cask. And then gets crunked!
Yeah, as you step into Crow's Casks, the sun is down. This is, of course, we all know that the day of the week that it is today. Why did I do this to myself? It's a moon day. It's a moon day, but it is the first hot day of the year, and people are out drinking, having a nice time. The bar has picked up considerably over the time that you've been here drinking, and even more considerably during your absence as the sun came down. And what does this evening of drinking look like?
Trill comes and sits back down, sits between Mag and Vadim, and kind of puts on a smile. I think everyone can tell she's trying to be cheerful for the group in this moment. She doesn't fully feel it.
It's okay. So what are we drinking?
Well, let me grab the next round.
Maybe something that's not gonna, make me feel worse because I don't think I've actually been healed yet.
Oh, yeah, your constitution is probably lowered as a result. We shouldn't mix with strong liquors. Understood.
Trill's just been bleeding this whole time.
Now I know what it's like to bleed through your eyes.
Maybe it's time for this pirate to get something other than a busted voice. Norman has an eye patch on at this point and a pirate's hat. He grabs a bandana and fastens it around Vadim's head and gets Trill a bizarrely large taxidermied parrot and puts it on her shoulder. Mag, look, here's a hook arm.
First mate Dima reporting for duty.
Ahoy!
Yarr.
Trill starts flirting with everyone around her.
If you were a pirate, would you wear your parrot on this shoulder?
Puts her hand on their closest shoulder.
Or this shoulder?
Puts her hand around them.
Which, of course, if they're 3 feet taller than you, is like a real...
Just hanging off of a person's body.
Vadim starts wolf whistling and applauding Trill. You'll get them, girl!
Mag tries this move on a busboy and injures him.
Magaloy snaps her fingers and gets the busboy to come over and starts applying an alchemical salve to him, and you see he's trying to quit. You see him throwing his hands in the air, you see him pantomiming. I can't work here anymore. And Magaloy manages to run her talon over his shoulder in such a way that he sighs and returns back to work.
I think at some discrete moment, Vadim's going to take out the Whispering Reeds and bump Trill with his shoulder as he sits next to her after grabbing around.
Oh.
And put it under the table onto her lap. and say, be careful with it.
Trill looks down. Oh, this is heavier than I thought it would be.
Yeah, tell me about it.
Are you sure?
I trust you. Just keep in mind that not everything in the dark is like O'Grail. He's a sweetheart, but there's some real evil out there.
And you remember that just because something is light doesn't mean it's good. Don't follow the wisps in the swamp.
I'll be careful. Because after all, I can't protect you out there anymore either.
I have Erasma. Guess you're right.
And the next thing he'll do is at some point he will sit down next to Mag and discreetly hand her his dagger of venom. I'm going to keep vigilance, but I think you'll be able to make better use of this than I will for now.
Mag takes the weapon in her hand, looks at it, looks back at Vadim, twirls the dagger 180 degrees, tucks it into her belt, and nods to him. You should have something from here to take with you. If not this, then perhaps something else. And Mag takes a look in her inventory. Okay, what do I have here?
Would you like one arrow? Would you like a javelin?
Yeah, I know. I wish I had a more appropriate weapon to give Mag.
No. It's cool. It's cool. And Mag pulls a small bag from off of her pouch and hands it to Vadim.
Thank you. Vadim will sit down by Ao over the course of the evening, and he'll grin at her and say, hey, you might need these. And he'll give her his healer's tools, the crowbar he has, a grappling hook, and some rope. And he'll say, look, if you can't get into trouble with all this, you're not the Ao I know.
Yeah, I think I can make you proud with these. Tell Radu we made you proud.
I will. You'd like him, you know. You guys are a lot alike.
Yeah, he comes from good family.
I don't know about that, but he's not the only family here. And he gives her a big hug.
And as Vadim gives Ao this hug, there's a sudden sound at the door. You see a gentleman with salt and pepper gray hair step into the bar, looking around frantically. It's Karlth, the historical-minded steward of the Odd Stories bookshop. He looks around the room and he sees the four of you, and he runs up and he's almost shouting over the noise in the bar at this point, like, "Oh, I'm so glad that I found you. This is, I've been looking for you all day. I should have known to come start here, but I found something that can we please sit down and talk for a moment, please? I'm sorry to interrupt, but this is quite important."
Is this about you underpaying us for one of those books?
Ah! No. It's nothing to do with that. And
Oh.
frankly, that's Morlibant's issue, not mine. If you have an issue with the bookkeeping, take it up with him.
Trill looks over at Vadim and shrugs.
Oh, Carlos, what's wrong?
Well, I got thinking about something. After the incident at the Otari Memorial 500, where Magdaruna shared the information about Zarmavdian casting the fireball that is believed to have that killed Otari. That's been quite a topic of conversation around town since then, and it got me doing a little bit of research that a line of historical inquiry that I had not taken on until then. You had asked if there was any mention of Zarmavdian, and in my records there was not, but I did find some correspondence between Asefna Menhemes and her family back in Absalom that could potentially be of interest to you. And I can't say for sure that it is related to this, but with the name Zarmavdian in my head now, these letters have a slightly different ring to them than they did the hundreds of times I've read them previously.
Can I see them?
Trill's very focused now on him with this talk of Zarmavdian because she's very concerned about where he ended up.
Of course. Well, the correspondence is incomplete. And as I said, these are letters from, Asefna, Volverjani, Otari, and Zarmavdian. They were something of a hunting lodge, an adventuring lodge from Absalom. And it was on their quest to save Absalom that they encountered Belcora Haravex here in the swamps. But they did have family, Asefna in particular did have family in Absalom proper that she would write letters to. And the family, her mother, in fact, wrote letters back. And at this point, they're not particularly well cared for, of course, with the wet climate here. The letters tend to fall apart, but I've transcribed certain sections that I think may be of interest to you. This line in particular, and he rubs his hands on the table to move drinks back and put a bit of parchment down on the table. This line always struck me as odd. This is part of a letter from Asefna's mother to her after the work of founding the town had been started. And the line says, "It sounds as though you're forced to work with people in this new town that perhaps you don't want to work with." I had always taken that to mean the roughshod frontiers folk that Asefna was working with to found the village, to found the work of founding a town is difficult, and for somebody of such high breeding as Asefna, I always just assumed that this was typical Absalonian snobbishness showing its way through. But in the context of this suggestion that Zarmavdian unleashed that fireball, that I wonder if there's something more to this. Anyway, across the course of these letters, it becomes clear that Asefna was uncomfortable, that there were secrets that were being kept that changed the dynamic of the heroes that founded the town. I've never read much into those either, but the thing that I find quite interesting in this new context of Magdaruna's revelation is that there's a letter here where Asefna, her mother, is writing to let Asefna know that she is relieved to learn that the problem that Asefna had to deal with had moved on, that the problem people that Asefna, or perhaps person that Asefna had to deal with, had moved on. And Asefna's mother in this letter has a comment that never meant much to me in the past, but does seem interesting now. She expresses some deep confusion as to why somebody or some people would choose to relocate to a place as remote as the Fangwood. And as Vadim hears the name Fangwood, that strikes immediate recognition for Vadim. This is a forest, a remote forest on the border of the country formerly known as Lastwall, currently known as, colloquially as the Gravelands. And Carl says, now, I'm probably going crazy. I've read these things so many times. And I know I'm going crazy because after I had heard the Magdaruna say something that I can only describe as a historical blasphemy at that horrible monument thing, it just all feels, I just have a bad feeling.
So you think Zarmavdian went to the Fangwood?
I have no way of knowing, of course, but I just can't help but think if Zarmavdian really did kill Otari or lead to Otari's death with that fireball, that surely seems like a horrible secret kept within the group, and it seems likely that perhaps the relief that Asefna felt when this, who I just thought was some sort of logging gentleman, left the village, perhaps that was Zarmavdian, and perhaps the Fangwood is where I just feel it seems like such a stretch, but I just can't look at these pages and ignore it any longer.
Carl, you're brilliant.
Yes, that doesn't sound good. The northern Fangwood, north of the Torrendell, we always tried to give it a wide berth. It does not have a good reputation. And I can't imagine that since the fall of Lastwall, it's gotten any better.
Vadim, do you think if it ends up being on your way, you might,
Of course. I'll try to do what I can. And send a messenger or some missive if I learn anything.
Yeah. Zarmavdian.
Anyway, I'm sorry to interrupt your meal, as he motions at a million empty drinks.
No, this was good. No, this was good. This was important.
Trill gets lost in her thoughts again.
Yes, well, if you have any more questions, now that I've gotten that off of my chest, that is, oh, what a relief that is. And now it's rattling around in somebody else's head and not just my own, right? Well, I'm sorry. I'll be letting you go. There's more you'd like to talk with me about this. Please stop by the shop at any time, and if you discover anything new, I'd be more than happy to discuss it with you. Please enjoy these horrible concoctions, and I'll see you later.
Thanks, Carl. And apologize to Morley-Bun again for the last time we were there, and he threw me out, and I had something of Magaloy's that just was not okay.
Oh yeah, no, bygones. We all have bad diplomacy roles sometimes.
Yeah, that lightning coffee packed a kick.
Magaloy's like, what's that? Lightning coffee?
No, it's okay. We're good.
I mean, I'll take one.
No, oh dear.
Vadim starts jittering.
Probably gonna need one tomorrow.
So I think Vadim will go back and forth to the bar several times, picking up rounds for the party. And as it grows darker and the shadows grow longer, at some point he'll just slip out and begin
the last
walking.
fold goodbye.
Yeah, the last fall goodbye. I love it.
Roll for stealth, MFer.
Yeah. And I think it takes a while to get back to Absalom, isn't that right?
Yeah, it's a day's journey, and you said that Vadim's ship leaves in the morning. So Vadim, it sounds like, was counting on traveling through the night no matter what.
Yeah. As he travels, he thinks about his brother, about Mag, about Ao, about Trill. And before he knows it, the night has almost passed. And as he's striding into the cobbled streets of Absalom, down towards the harbor, the sun is just starting to rise on the ship, hanging in the masts of the ship that will take him to see his brother at last.
And we'll pick up from there next time.
The Roots of Ruin is a Tabletop Gold production, produced under the Paizo Incorporated Community Use Policy. The Roots of Ruin uses trademarks and/or copyrights owned by Paizo Inc., used under Paizo's Community Use Policy. We are expressly prohibited from charging you to use or access this content. Paizo does not recognize, endorse, or sponsor this project in any way. Original characters and content are the property of Tabletop Gold. For more information about Paizo Inc. and Paizo products, visit paizo.com. We at Tabletop Gold would love to hear from you. Email us at letters@tabletopgold.com and find all our social links at tabletopgold.com.